Welcome to State of the State. I'm Darlene Durezzo, and I'm in conversation with Pamela Steere-Maloof. She is the owner of Faith Hill Farm in East Greenwich, and alongside her is Andra Collins. She's an equine specialist there at Faith Hill Farm. They are here to talk about their concerns regarding a new development going up right next door. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you for coming. So let's talk about the farm, okay? And when it was founded, if it's been in the family. I understand it was originally your parents' farm. Mm-hmm. So you've been there some time. Do you grow up on that farm?
We actually didn't grow up on that farm. Kind of the funny story. So there's two adjacent farms. My parents have owned the land on the corner of Division Road and Shippytown Road in East Greenwich since 1960. And at that point, we actually ended up growing up in the north end of North Kingstown. With that being said, my mother said she couldn't possibly raise her family out there because it was too rural. So it was always a gentleman's farm. There was always orchards and all kinds of fruit to be picked. My dad ended up running his construction business out of there at one point. And then the adjacent farm to that farm came up for sale in 1990, and my husband and I were engaged, and then we purchased that farm because it just was, you know, it only made sense to expand the land and to be able to utilize both pieces of property.
Mm-hmm. And have you been agricultural your entire life?
Yes, well, I've grown up riding, actually in East Greenwich, just a short distance away, always involved in horses. Andra and I know each other from horses. I think we've figured out we've been friends for 38 years. And it was just a wonderful way to grow up in East Greenwich. We could ride anywhere in East Greenwich, you know, we could. And then there was a trail riding association, East Greenwich Riders, so it was so fun. It was so fun, and then we would have, you know, after an all-day trail ride, we would have a dinner at the local Grange and things like that. And there were all local horse shows, and we could ride to the horse shows, and it was just a wonderful experience. And that's why my husband and I made a decision to do what we do, you know, open the farm in '91, and then just to be able to provide others was such a wonderful experience.
Mm-hmm. That sounds idyllic. Yeah. So tell us about the programs that are there.
So we started with a riding lesson program and horse boarding. We do training. We have a very big lesson program. We have people that ride for a variety of reasons, just pleasure, whether they want, you know, have aspirations to go on to do more showing, more elite showing. So we have that program. We do the boarding, we do the training of the horses, and then the farm has touched so many people over the years, it just made sense. And I started to read probably back in 2013, 12 and 13 about equine-assisted psychotherapy and equine-assisted learning, and then read about those programs. So then I went to be certified in EGALA. It's an Equine-Assisted Growth and Learning Association, and it's a global model. So I'm also an equine specialist. Again, Andra and I have been friends since forever. And Andra is so wonderful with people and horses, so I introduced her to the program. She's now certified in EGALA. So, you know, we see all kinds of people at the farm, all kinds of clients. We have all kinds of contracts. We've done a lot of things in the community, and people will come there to help heal. And it's different than being in a clinician's office with four walls around them. You know, to be out in nature, to be, whether it's with the horses, the goats, the donkeys, or, you know, it's just really a wonderful way to help them heal.
So you have horses, donkeys, goats?
Horses, donkeys, goats. We have
Minis.
a pig. We have mini horses. Yep, there's a wide variety there, yeah.
Okay. And the foundation, when was that founded? And that's a 501c3,
That's
correct?
a 501c3, yep. I founded the Faith Hill Farm Foundation in 2017 after I became EGALA certified.
Okay. All right. And Andra, you've been at the farm for how long?
I've been at the farm on and off since the beginning. I currently have 5 horses there. 2 are used for therapy, 2 show, and 1 is happily retired at the age of 31.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So this development, when did you get news about the development, and can you discuss what you know about the scope of it?
Sure. The land surrounding both of our farms, my parents had actually tried to buy it since 1960. And then I had spoken with the owner several times as well to see if we could purchase the land surrounding our farms. And then the owner said that her husband had passed several years before, but that she and her husband had planned on donating it to the town of East Greenwich. So I thought, well, if we can't own it and protect the landscape and the environment and the ruralness of East Greenwich, then if it were preserved by East Greenwich, that would be also wonderful. So I learned probably in June or July of this year, just kind of caught wind through a neighbor coming to say that there were some affordable homes being put over there. So then it went from there, and then I had emailed the planning department, and then there was initial meeting in July that the developer presented the 39 condominium units, with 11 being affordable condominiums out of the 39.
Do you know who owns that property now?
It was sold to the developer, I believe, in late November of 24, or it could be early December 24.
Okay, so it was not donated.
No.
It was purchased then, okay. And so East Greenwich sounds like it was always a very rural town, farm town, right? And so how might the landscape change with this development?
It really doesn't fit into the town comprehensive plan. There's so few farms left existing in East Greenwich. And really they are trying to preserve, the farming and the rural character, or what's left of it actually in East Greenwich. So.
Yeah.
And I believe our farms are listed in the comprehensive plan or something similar to it to actually be farms to help preserve.
Okay. Tell us about your work there, Andra, as an equine specialist delivering equine-assisted therapeutic programs.
It's very meaningful.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. I spent most of my life teaching, and it's great to be able to share what the horses bring to the people, to me, to myself. The animals have such a way of understanding what people are feeling. Just no words. They seem to be very sympathetic and understanding. And the people and the clients, they just seem to be able to relate to the animals. Depending on what project we have for them, what animals they select. But
yeah, tell us about the characteristics of horses. So our viewers might not know about horses.
well, they're a prey animal.
Okay, what does that mean?
That means they're hunted. They're easily frightened. Their initial reaction to fear is to run, and they will panic. So if we run into any loud noises or anything like that during a session, it could frighten the animals, which could also frighten the client and put them into danger. And our job as equine specialists is to keep the client and the therapist safe, as well as the horses.
Okay, so horses are incredibly empathetic, and they're majestic, they're strong. We look at horses and we sense freedom.
But they have a way of speaking through their body motions.
Okay, and then that being said, they're also easily startled.
Yes.
And it sounds like they don't sort of ask questions. They ask questions, like they take off, and then and then what was that? So. What would happen then if there was construction happening virtually next door, right? Loud noises. I would think that there'd be some vibration, blasting. What might happen?
Well, first of all, the landscape up in that area, it's called Rocky Hill, and actually the Rhode Island State Fairgrounds, named Rocky Hill Fairgrounds, was down the street. And it's named that for a reason. The glaciers were unkind. You should see the rock deposits in the ledge. It's just incredible. So it's just not an average excavation project. And we're directly next door to it. So I fear, there's going to be blasting, there's going to be rock drilling, there's going to be there's going to be rock crushing on site. They're going to have to keep all that material on site, and it is directly next to the farm and where the animals are kept. And I'm trying to encourage, people from the town, and maybe some, state representatives to come over and see. Because you can look at our farms on Google Earth all you want, but unless you come there and see where the horses are housed, the proximity of this intense excavation, you couldn't tell that on Google Earth. And then the horses will be very, very frightened. I'm not sure, we will not be able to ride when there's any construction going on. We will not be able to do any of any of our therapeutic services will not be able to happen when it'll just be too dangerous.
I mean, a horse could run right through a barn wall.
Absolutely.
And so
Sure.
I don't know if people really understand
Sure.
the power that a horse has. So how many horses do you have on site that are working?
We have 39 on my farm, and then we have 16 on my family's farm adjacent to me.
Okay, so these are working horses. They have jobs, right? So people are coming to ride them. They're in lesson programs. They might be boarded. They might be engaged in therapeutic activities. Okay. And then you also have the goats and some minis. So
And the donkeys.
And the mini donkeys.
Yes.
So there's quite a few animals on site. And if someone is, say, in a lesson in the arena or even out in the pasture in a paddock, and a horse is frightened, they could take off very quickly, correct? How quickly can they take off, and how fast do they get?
They also can go left and right very quickly. So say a client is on the ground, petting the horse or whatever, and it decides to spook, it could just knock that person over.
They can move laterally,
Yeah, exactly.
to the left or right,
Exactly.
knocking someone over,
Right.
through a fence, move very quickly out into the road, perhaps, right?
And yes, anything can happen. I am just gravely concerned for the safety of my staff taking care of these horses. I'm gravely concerned for all of our clients, and I'm gravely concerned for the horses' well-being.
Yeah. So what time is everyone up and about feeding horses and taking care of the stalls and whatnot? What time does your
I start at 5 a.m.
So you're out there at 5 a.m. And what time is construction slated to begin?
We're not sure. We don't.
Okay.
There's some considerations coming from the developer. There's considerations we've asked for, and we haven't met in the middle yet. The planning board meeting has been continued until March 19th.
Okay, but it could be 7, 8, 9 a.m., right? And then what time do you wrap up your day?
Oh, lesson days can go late.
Yeah, our book of business generally with our clients, I mean, of course, the horse care starts early, 5 a.m. Our book of business with our clients, whether it be therapy clients or, folks coming in to either ride their own horses or to take riding lessons, usually about 9 a.m. and we go all the way to about 7 p.m.
Yeah, so it's not traditional business hours. You are operating
Right.
an extended day, and you
Right.
also operate through the summer, doing camps and whatnot, and then on the weekends, right?
Right.
And someone who's boarding a horse, they might come for pleasure riding at any time.
Right.
And they won't be able to.
And they won't be
It
able
won't-
to.
It just won't be safe to ride a horse. I can't, we'll be proven negligent if we allow somebody to ride when there's construction, 100 feet away.
Yeah, and so and who determines that? Your insurance company or your?
As an equine professional, we have to
Take this.
use our best judgment, and if we'll be negligent if we allow somebody to, whether we work with a therapy person, client there with the horse, it just won't be safe to work with therapy clients. I don't know where they're going to go in the community. There's already, a shortage now of programs, and yeah, it's a mess.
It is. So it's getting an equine-assisted psychotherapy practice off the ground is challenging because horses, again, the best horses might be unpredictable, right, under the best circumstances. And so a lot of barns, while they understand the power, the therapeutic, what's the word I'm looking for, the therapeutic I'm blanking.
Benefit?
Benefit, thank you. Well, they understand the therapeutic benefits of working with horses, taking on that extra liability, right, of having someone with a mental health issue, maybe a significant mental health issue on the property is a liability, so that might be challenging. So there's few barns, right, few facilities that offer these programs. If the construction is operating under normal business hours, let's say Monday through Friday, 9 to 5-ish, something like that, what are you left with then as far as your business? You go from operating at 100% to what, Pam?
To 20% or less. At the meeting the other evening, we were told that there was going to be no blasting on Fridays and Saturdays, but which meant they were going to be working on Saturdays, just not blasting. You know, with my dad being in construction, you know, his crew would be 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. So in trying to think about, again, being gravely concerned for everybody's safety, but yet trying to stay in business after 30, you know, we've been there for 34 years. If we were going to operate from 4 p.m. until 8 p.m., and then on Saturdays and Sundays, at that point, we would be working at 20% or less of our current book of business. So I have no idea. Our business is greatly jeopardized.
How would you stay in business?
I don't think we will.
Okay.
I don't think we will.
So anyone boarding horses there, they would likely consider moving, correct?
Exactly.
Already. There's 5 folks already moving. And then I heard of 3 other horses that are also moving.
So that must be incredibly stressful.
Mm-hmm.
I have no words. I said in front of the town council a few weeks ago, if I don't die of a heart attack or stroke, it's going to be a miracle. It's just incredible to me that this is happening.
Yeah. Did you speak at the town meeting?
I did not.
Okay.
I attended.
You attended, okay.
I attended. A lot of Pam's boarders and friends spoke.
Good. So this is exercising your citizenship, right? You're right, as a homeowner and whatnot, to go to speak to the town council. You've also started a petition, correct?
Yes, there's a petition there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, saying that, you know, our first choice, we would prefer not to, and our greatest hope is we prefer that not to happen, you know, somehow the land be preserved. And if it does happen, you know, how concerned we are for, again, the people, you know, the staff, the people, and then our business, because we won't survive. I don't know how I would pay my bills. You know, these horses still have to eat. You know what? My grain and hay bill is $18,000 to $20,000 a month. You know, my payroll is $6,000 a week. It's just the horseshoes are $4,000 every 5 weeks. You know, it's just veterinary expenses. Just the math is not mathing.
Yeah. What would prohibit that construction? Is there anything in the town charter, laws, anything like that that might prohibit that construction that's been explored?
I'm not that politically well versed, but I do believe a project could be denied on that if it hindered the safety and health and well-being of an existing citizen of that town, East Greenwich. If it doesn't fit with the town comprehensive plan or the landscape or the rural character, I'm just trying to appeal to everybody. But really, I mean, I'm just gravely concerned about the people, about the horses, and my business, quite frankly, is not going to survive.
Yeah.
After 34 years.
How many people do you employ there at the barn?
Oh, there's 6 to 7 people that work full time. Then I've got teenagers helping, you know, tack for riding lessons and doing odd jobs around the farm, and
that's important for those teens too, right? To learn how to care for an animal, how to work, how to give back to the community. So potentially 6 or 7 adults, right?
Yes.
Full-time employees could lose their jobs.
Their
So
livelihoods, and they're wonderful people. Wonderful people.
Yeah.
Yep, they work so hard. They care so deeply for the animals. They're so good with our clients. You know, it's a busy place. You know, whether you come for a riding lesson or to board your horse, or whether you're a therapy client. You know, so I think our staff is really, really top notch. Yeah, and You know, it doesn't matter if it's raining or snowing or 3 degrees or 103. Those horses have to be cared for. You know, so these folks are dedicated, and even the teenagers that work for us too, they have to work hard for the money that they get. But it builds character, builds a lot of personal strength, work ethic, and again, sense of community and responsibility, and then the horses have to be cared for before we care for ourselves. So.
Yeah. Has the developer proposed any compromise or any way to ensure that you're safe, that your staff is safe, that your horses and other animals are safe through the construction?
There are some considerations I asked for some considerations. They've given some considerations, but even if there's considerations, I cannot see in all my years of experience with horses, and Andra, please weigh in on this, how we can even make this work.
Dump truck slamming, the road has to go in. There's a house on the corner that has to be taken down, demolished. So the way that it's set up is you have a whole row of horses right down to the indoor, that they're going to be affected. And that's just constant noise.
But like not normal noise. It's
Right.
not a normal excavation
There's a lot of
project.
banging, things that frighten the horses. And, you know, even the people out in the woods, you know, could spook a horse because it's a sudden movement. So if they're out, you know, building a fence or pulling a shrub, so that could spook them.
Yeah, and the horse could do damage to the barns, right? To the actual structures there on your property, and right? So, and then what would that look like?
Well, you'd have damage to the barn, but also a lot of damage to the horse. So, you have boarders aren't going to want to stick around with that possibility.
Yeah, yeah. So horses are very big and strong, and also
Yes,
quite
they are.
fragile
Yes,
in
they
many
are.
ways, right?
Yes, they
Because
are.
they're prey
And they
animals.
panic.
Yeah, I mean,
they're a flight animal.
These
They're gonna run.
instincts kept them alive when they were in the wild. You know, you know, if a horse even sees a deer in the woods, they'll take notice. You know, but again, those instincts kept them alive when they were in the wild.
Yeah. So they have incredible hearing. Do you want to speak to the hearing that they have?
I always find that their hearing is better than their eyesight. They have tremendous hearing. And they left and right, they're always on guard.
Yeah.
And their ears move independently,
Yes, they do.
right?
Yeah.
And they can hear heartbeats. They can hear human heartbeats, right? From how far? Do you know?
4 feet away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4 feet away. They also heart sync.
Right.
So horses in a herd will heart sync. So again, it's a domino effect. So if one horse starts to get dysregulated, all the other horses will start to become dysregulated. So they, you know, if they detect, you know, their own heart rate going up, you know, because they do heart sync, then of course then it'll be a you know, a snowball effect. Yeah.
So you're not necessarily worried about one horse spooking. You're worried
Oh, no.
about
Monkey see, monkey do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that will impact, right, the safety
Absolutely.
again of the staff there.
Right. It is a domino effect.
Yeah. So there was the demolition company was over there starting to take down some things in one of the yards, and we didn't know that was going to happen. So it was just a standard day, and all the horses were turned out, and then you know, I could hear the demolition, and then the horses just started to go nuts, and they were you know, some of them were just running, not just running around the paddocks, but some of them were standing up, rearing up, striking out their front legs. I mean, and I actually took notice of one horse. He's a little bit less of a flight instinct, or less, I always thought, a little bit less sensitive than some of the other ones. And yeah, he was on his hind legs, you know, striking out, and one of my staff ran in there with him, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, luckily neither were hurt, and we got him to a stall, and we closed him into the, you know, the top and the bottom door, and he ended up settling. But it was scary until we got all those horses to a safer place, safer situation.
And this is construction on site, on the proposed site that you're talking about?
There's 2 abandoned houses, 2 condemned houses that need to come down, and they'd started one to do some things. There was an old boat and an old camp or something in their yard, and they'd started on that. As soon as we got all the horses under control, my husband and I walked over and talked to the gentleman. He was very nice, and his crew was very nice. His daughter actually comes to camp at the farm.
Oh, wow.
So he's been very nice, and we were able to communicate. Those houses still have to come down, so that's going to be, it's going to be really something when that happens.
Yeah.
So tell us too about the psychological stress for the horse too. So a horse might not physically bolt or charge or take off, strike out, but internally, what might happen, Andra, if a horse is stressed?
Well, they could colic.
You want to talk
Colic
to
could be anything from gas bubble to a twisted intestine. They can develop ulcers. They could have a change of personality. You know, a safe horse that never, say, bit or kicked or moved quickly just becomes very anxious. And that's what becomes hard for the handlers. And again, we have to call a vet, add medications, but it's very hard. Their stalls or their paddocks are their safe zones. So if all this happens, they won't have a safe zone anymore. So they will fret and panic.
Okay. So and that takes a toll internally.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we have about 5 minutes. What haven't we touched on or talked about that you think is really important? So we've talked about exercising your citizenship. You've gone down to town hall. You've spoken, right, to your town council. You talked about the sensitivity of the horses, the health and safety of the horses
riders
and the staff,
and
the riders too.
The riders, you won't be able to ride with all that going on. It's hard enough to have people on the ground with the horses acting that way or possibility of the actions, but there's no way you can ride. Horses can bolt. You know, there's just,
and again, the therapy sessions won't be able to happen.
No.
So it's just, I just hope somebody will listen. You know, this.
The therapy people come there for peace and learning, and to find, I hope, inner peace. And if the horses are dysregulated, that's going to set the clients off, I would think.
Yeah.
I had I actually had a dad that came with his daughter for a family session, and he was a veteran. He had been deployed to Afghanistan, and he had, you know, black sunglasses on. I later learned that he had sustained a brain injury. And he walked into the arena with his daughter and the horses, and then I see tears streaming down his face. And he said, "This is what I need. I've been telling everybody at the VA, this is what I need. I don't need 4 walls around me. I need this." So, therapeutically, it's much different for everybody, and you know, again, the peace of surrounding, to be able to look out at the deer and the woodchucks and the fox and the chipmunks, and just be there with all the horses, and it's really a beautiful place, and the serenity, and then they have a sense of belonging, and
they make such a connection.
Connection.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I'm Darlene DeRezzo. The petition is available on change.org, is that correct?
That's correct.
So we will link that in the show notes as well. Thank you for watching. Please find us on social media. We have a new Instagram account. It's @StateOfTheStateRI.